These are 10 god-tier isekai anime that'll transport you to worlds beyond your wildest imagination and completely redefine what you thought this genre could achieve. From psychological thrillers that'll break your heart to comedic masterpieces that parody everything you love about fantasy adventures, this is your ultimate guide to the absolute best the genre has to offer. Let me start with something that might surprise you. The word isekai literally means different world in Japanese, but this concept isn't some modern invention. It traces back to ancient Japanese folklore, specifically the story of Urashima Taro, a fisherman who saved a turtle and was taken to an underwater kingdom. What felt like moments to him turned out to be centuries in the real world. That timeless theme of displacement, of finding yourself in a world that operates by completely different rules, has captivated audiences for over 1,000 years. But here's what's fascinating about modern isekai. Since roughly 2015, it's exploded into the biggest genre in anime, with each season delivering at least half a dozen new shows. We're talking about a cultural phenomenon that's generated billions in revenue. With series like Sword Art Online selling over 30 million light novel copies worldwide and ReZero topping Kadokawa's financial charts with over 500 million yen in quarterly sales. This isn't just entertainment anymore, it's a movement. So let's jump into the cream of the crop, the series that elevate isekai from simple escapism to genuine art. Starting at number 10, we have Log Horizon, and this one's special because it completely flips the script on what an isekai protagonist should be. While most series give you an overpowered main character who wins through sheer strength, Log Horizon's Shiro conquers his new world through brilliant tactical thinking. When players find themselves trapped in the MMORPG Elder Tale, they don't just have to survive monsters and dungeons. They have to rebuild society itself. What makes Log Horizon extraordinary is its attention to the mechanics of actually living in a game world. How do you establish an economy when NPCs suddenly gain consciousness? What happens to player versus player combat when death carries real emotional consequences? Shiro, nicknamed the villain in glasses, uses political maneuvering and strategic alliances to create order from chaos. This isn't power fantasy, it's intellectual fantasy at its finest. Number 9 brings us to No Game, No Life, a series that proves isekai can be absolutely stunning visually while delivering some of the most creative battle scenarios ever animated. Siblings Sora and Shiro get transported to Disboard, a world where everything gets decided through games rather than violence. The catch? They're facing opponents who've had centuries to perfect their gaming strategies. Every conflict in No Game, No Life becomes a puzzle where the protagonists must outsmart beings with godlike intelligence using only human cunning and their unbreakable bond as siblings. The series treats each game like a chess match where the rules keep changing and the stakes are entire civilizations. Plus, the art style is absolutely breathtaking, with colors that pop off the screen like a living painting. At number 8, we encounter Saga of Tanya the Evil, which takes everything you expect from isekai and turns it into a war-torn nightmare. A Japanese salaryman gets reincarnated as a young girl in an alternate world resembling World War I Europe, but with magic thrown into the mix. Tanya von Degrachoff becomes one of the most morally complex protagonists in anime, fighting for survival in a world where being X, a godlike entity, manipulates events to test her faith. This isn't your typical power fantasy. Tanya's magical abilities come with the constant threat of divine intervention, and her strategic brilliance gets constantly tested against enemies who have their own supernatural advantages. The series explores themes of free will versus divine manipulation while delivering some of the most intense aerial combat sequences ever animated. Tanya's character development as someone who maintains her humanity while becoming an instrument of war creates compelling psychological tension throughout. Number 7 gives us The Rising of the Shield Hero, a series that sparked massive controversy but ultimately became one of the most emotionally rewarding isekai journeys ever created. Naofumi Iwatani gets summoned as the Shield Hero, one of 4 legendary heroes meant to save the world from waves of catastrophic monsters. However, he's immediately betrayed by the princess and branded a criminal, forcing him to start his adventure with nothing but a shield and burning desire for justice. What makes Shield Hero compelling is how it handles the underdog narrative. Naofumi can't attack directly, he can only defend. This limitation forces him to rely on strategy, allies, and gradual power building rather than overwhelming force. His relationship with Raftalia, who starts as a scared slave child and grows into a powerful warrior who chooses to stay by his side, provides some of the most touching character development in the genre. The series faced criticism for its handling of false accusations and slavery themes, but it uses these controversial elements to explore deeper questions about justice, redemption, and the power of chosen family. With 4 seasons already aired and a 5th announced, the series has proven its staying power despite early backlash. At number 6, we have Overlord, which dares to ask what happens when the villain is the protagonist. Momonga, a max-level player in the MMORPG Yggdrasil, finds himself trapped in the game world as his character, Ainz Ul Gaun, an undead overlord with godlike magical abilities. Here's the twist. Instead of trying to be heroic, Ainz leans into his role as an undead ruler and begins building an empire. Overlord succeeds because it treats its premise seriously. Ainz possesses over 700 spells and can use super tier magic that can reshape landscapes, but the series focuses on the political and strategic challenges of ruling rather than just showcasing power. Each season builds on complex relationships between Ainz and his subordinates, who worship him as an infallible god, while he internally struggles with living up to their expectations. The author deliberately designed Ainz as undead, so he couldn't be easily poisoned, assassinated, or killed by mundane human weaknesses, making him truly overpowered while keeping the focus on intellectual challenges. With 4 seasons, a theatrical film, and appearances in Isekai Quartet, Overlord has become a cornerstone of the genre. Number 5 brings us Sword Art Online, the series that arguably launched modern isekai into mainstream popularity. When Kirito and thousands of other players become trapped in a virtual reality MMORPG, where death in the game means death in real life, the series established many of the tropes that define isekai today. Creator Reki Kawahara originally released this as a web novel from 2002 to 2008, but it was the 2012 anime adaptation that truly changed everything. Sword Art Online's influence cannot be overstated. It popularized the concept of being trapped in a game world, introduced the overpowered solo player archetype, and proved that isekai could generate massive commercial success. The light novels have sold over 30 million copies worldwide, and the games have moved 5.6 million units globally. While later seasons explored different virtual worlds and concepts, that original Aincrad arc remains a masterclass in high-stakes survival gaming. The series sparked countless imitators and established the template that most modern isekai still follow. At number 4, we find KonoSuba, God's blessing on this wonderful world, which takes every isekai trope you know and love and mercilessly parodies them, while somehow still being incredibly entertaining. Kazuma Satu dies in the most embarrassingly unheroic way possible, and gets given the choice to reincarnate in a fantasy world with any one thing he wants. He chooses the goddess Aqua herself, only to discover she's completely useless at being a goddess. Suba succeeds as both parody and genuine entertainment because it commits fully to its comedic premise. Kazuma isn't a noble hero. He's a perverted shut-in who uses underhanded tactics and gets genuinely excited about stealing panties with magic. His party consists of Aqua, a goddess who can't do anything right, Megaman, an explosion mage who can only cast 1 spell per day, and Darkness, a crusader who's secretly a masochist. Together, they're the most dysfunctional adventure party ever assembled, and that's exactly what makes them perfect. With 10 million copies in circulation and a devoted fanbase, KonoSuba proves that isekai doesn't always have to take itself seriously. The series just aired its 3rd season in 2024, with a 4th season already confirmed. Megaman became such a popular character that she won official polls and received her own spin-off series. The success of KonoSuba paved the way for more comedic takes on the genre. Our number 3 spot goes to That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, which proves that sometimes the most unlikely protagonist can create the most engaging story. Satoru Mikami, a 37-year-old office worker, gets stabbed and reincarnated as a slime in a fantasy world. This could have been a joke premise, but instead it becomes one of the most thoughtful explorations of leadership, diplomacy, and nation building in anime. What makes Slime exceptional is how it balances incredible power with genuine character growth. Rimuru Tempest may become ridiculously overpowered, but the series focuses on how he uses that power to build bridges between different races and create a multicultural nation. The supporting cast is massive and well developed, from the stern Shion to the calculating Diablo, and each character contributes to the larger narrative about cooperation and understanding. The series excels at both large-scale political intrigue and intimate character moments, creating a world that feels alive and meaningful. At number 2, we have Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation, which many consider the gold standard of modern Isekai storytelling. A 34-year-old unemployed shut-in gets given a second chance at life when he's reincarnated as Rudius Greyrat in a fantasy world. What could have been a simple power fantasy becomes instead a profound meditation on personal growth, redemption, and the possibility of changing who you are. Mushoku succeeds because it takes its premise seriously. Rudeus carries the emotional baggage of his previous life's failures, and his journey isn't just about becoming powerful, it's about becoming a better person. The series doesn't shy away from his flaws and mistakes, instead using them as opportunities for genuine character development. As one critic noted, Rudeus has one of the biggest character developments in anime history as he continuously tries to better himself while dealing with his past life's regrets. The world building is extraordinary, with Studio Bind creating some of the most gorgeous animation in the medium. Every aspect of the world feels lived in and authentic, from the magic system to the political structures to the way different cultures interact. Re:Zero novelist Tappei Nagatsuki has praised Mushoku Tensei's handling of a flawed protagonist, noting similarities to his own work's approach to character development. And at number 1, we have Re:Zero, Starting Life in Another World, which transforms Isekai from escapist fantasy into psychological horror masterpiece. Subaru Natsuki gets transported to a fantasy world where he discovers he has the ability to return from death, resetting time to a previous checkpoint. What sounds like the ultimate cheat ability becomes instead a curse that forces him to experience horrific deaths over and over while trying to save the people he cares about. Re:Zero succeeds by subverting every expectation you have about isekai protagonists. Subaru isn't overpowered, his only ability ensures he suffers more than anyone else. He can't solve problems with strength or magic. He has to rely on learning from his mistakes and gradually understanding the complex web of relationships and motivations around him. The series delivers some of the most emotionally devastating moments in anime, particularly as Subaru grapples with trauma, depression, and the weight of carrying knowledge that no one else can understand. The writing is exceptional, with each arc building on previous character development while introducing new layers of complexity. As one reviewer noted, the whole anime fanbase will unanimously agree that Re:Zero is probably the greatest isekai anime of all time. The series tops Kadokawa's financial charts as their highest grossing isekai franchise, and for good reason. It proves that isekai can tackle serious themes like mental health, personal growth, and the cost of heroism while still delivering the fantasy adventure elements fans love. What makes these 10 series special isn't just their individual quality, it's how they collectively demonstrate the incredible range and potential of the genre. From Log Horizon's tactical brilliance to KonoSuba's comedic genius, from Re:Zero's psychological depth to Mushoku Tensei's redemptive character study, these anime prove that being transported to another world is just the beginning of the story. The isekai genre continues to evolve, with 2025 delivering exceptional entries like Zenshu, The Water Magician, and From Bureaucrat to Villainous. Each season brings new interpretations of the core concept, pushing the boundaries of what's possible when you give creators the freedom to build entirely new worlds with their own rules. Whether you're new to Isekai or a longtime fan looking for your next obsession, these 10 series represent the absolute pinnacle of the genre. They're the shows that'll remind you why you fell in love with anime in the first place and prove that sometimes the best way to understand our own world is to lose ourselves completely in another one.